All right, good evening. It is ACIM Talks, and we are getting near the end of the year. And I think it's been quite a interesting year with the kind of hodgepodge of things that we've taken a look at in our ACIM spirituality. And I like it because we get to delve into other spiritualities, which turn out not to be unlike A Course in Miracles. And I remember many years ago, a stranger, we were at some function, some kind, he was a Muslim. And I didn't know much about Muslim people. I still don't really. But he said to me, there's only one truth. And you know how certain things, it was a perfect stranger, but it resonated. And it still does to this day. And I see more and more evidence of it. Uh, every single day in every endeavor or study that I get into, you'll hear the same sort of principles. They kind of get skewed with a lot of extra stuff, but fundamentally, there's only one truth. Wouldn't you agree? So we are here this evening, not quite the last meeting for 2024, but we're getting very close. And I don't know, it's been a prosperous and productive year for me because I've gotten a lot of rewards and a lot of lessons. So don't call me greedy, but I've been sucking it all up. And I can tell you, well, my testimony is it's all good. So I hope you're all good tonight. And I thought we could just get into our study tonight because we're back to our Unity and A Course in Miracles book tonight. And some of you said you didn't get the agenda for it tonight.
Yeah.
So I will, you didn't either, Kathleen?
No, I was looking for it. I couldn't find it.
Could you hold up that book just to see if I can see it? Can you hold up the book?
I can. D, do yours because my Zoom background. Okay, can you see it, Doug?
Oh, there it is.
You got it?
That's that. Okay.
Do you have it?
He said yes.
You did? All right.
Yeah.
All right. So, Doug, we and everybody, as I was saying, I'll work on what happened with the mailing list for the agenda. But we are on page 55, and we're just starting chapter 5 in this book. And so, chapter 5 continues with the subjects of separation, relative mind, and the ego. So I have no idea what relative mind and the ego is going to talk about. I am familiar with separation. I think it's the fundamental cause of all the problems in the world. So I'm with that. But rather than me speculating, why don't we do our reading list and get started and see what we could cover?
Is this the right book?
That's it, Doug.
Yes,
Yes.
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 Okay.
That is correct. Now, Doug, I'm not sure if you're reading how well it's gonna be heard. You want to try it? You want to be our first reader? Let's try it and see how it goes, okay? So Doug will be number one. We're on page 55, chapter 5 on page 55. And so Doug is reader 1, Sherilyn is 2, Debbie 3, Ron 4, Dee is 5, and Kathleen can be reader 6. So without further ado, because I can't wait to get into it, let's just get started. Doug, go right ahead, sir, on page 55.
Separation, relative mind, and the ego. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't hear him well personally,
Okay.
but I don't know about everyone else. Are you on speakerphone, Doug? Can you,
He's
can
on
you,
my phone. We
no,
were
is he on speaker on his? He's not. Can he put it on speaker mode? On his phone? No?
Do you know how to do that, Doug?
I don't understand what you said.
She wants to know if you can put your phone on speakerphone.
On speakerphone right now.
All right. He said it's already on speakerphone, D. Read a little bit and talk loud and see how it goes. Just start over, would you?
Separation, relative mind, and the ego.
How is that, D?
I'm not good, but I could just read myself. It's, you know.
All right. Go ahead. Do that next paragraph, Doug.
Although A Course in Miracles and usually both each, there is only oneness. The idea of separation must be addressed. It is the intention of both teachings to reveal the nature of the separation of beliefs in our lives. Both teach that the idea and belief in separation gives rise to the experience of separation in consciousness and I can't say that, subsequently.
Close enough.
Refer to our discussion on concepts of the world and the universe, chapter 10.
All right. So one of it says the belief in separation gives rise to the experience of separation in consciousness. And it also says the outcome of that is the physical universe. Am I interpreting that right so far? That the physical universe is the result of separation.
Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Did you already know that? This should be interesting, right? Nobody's saying that. Did you already know that?
I don't think I thought about it, to be honest with you.
Okay. Doug says he never really thought about it. So with that said, let's go to our next reader. That's Sherilyn White.
Okay. A Course in Miracles. Here is what A Course in Miracles says about the separation. There is no separation of God and his creation. The separation is no more than an illusion of despair. The full awareness of the atonement, then, is the recognition that the separation never occurred.
Would you read one
Into,
more?
all right, into eternity, where all is one, there crept a tiny, mad idea, the idea of separation, at which the Son of God remembered not to laugh. In his forgetting did the thought become a serious idea, impossible of both accomplishment and real effects.
And so, have you heard that line before from A Course in Miracles? Is it seared into your minds in that, like me?
Mhm.
I
Yes.
pretty much, in one way or another, talk about that every week
Mhm.
because, according to the Course, it was the beginning of everything. One of the other, I gotta look it up because it's getting every week now I talk about it. Do you remember? Well, maybe it's gonna come up in one of these passages, right? Um,
Probably.
in the text of A Course in Miracles, very early on, maybe chapter 2, it says something like the first result of the tiny, it says that, oh, am I doing poorly? At any rate, it talks about the idea of individual consciousness was the first outcome of the separation. And I'm going to have to do better than this. I'll go back and find that exact quote, but it's meant more and more to me, because when we think of being conscious, we generally think that's a good thing. But what's come to me from the Course is that it was not a good thing. Like, I'm conscious of being Jim, but Dee, are you conscious of being Jim?
No.
No.
Uh, it's like we communicate in that, but you have your own private world, don't you? Your
Yes.
own private thoughts. I
Mhm.
have my own private thoughts. Doug, we see each other, but there are things that go through your mind that I don't seem to experience at all. And so you think it's a great thing to have your own consciousness, but what it is your own private world,
Mhm.
your own separate heaven.
Mhm.
You know what you like. I know what I like, but I have no idea who you really are, because the only one of you I get to see is the one you want to show me at any given time.
Journal.
Yeah, that can be detrimental. Debbie, you wanted to say something there, dear?
Well, I looked up chapter 2 just for the heck of it, see if I could find
Thank you.
anything that sounded like what you were talking about.
What'd you do?
And I got this sentence, and see if this is
Yeah, read
they
it.
start out by talking about extending, right? And then he goes on in the very first paragraph. I'm in chapter 2, the origins of separation.
Yes.
And sentence 7, the
Yeah.
inappropriate use of extension or projection occurs when you believe that some emptiness or lack exists in you, and that you can fill it with your own ideas
Yeah.
instead of truth.
Yes. You know,
I think that may be where you're going. It
well,
might not
that's
be the
close
exact
to it,
quote, but
and I will go back and take another look at that myself to see if I can add to it. But I think already it's become an interesting discussion to recognize that individual consciousness is merely one of the outcomes of the tiny mad idea.
Oh, yeah.
It's like you can interact with the outer world, but there's no denying we have our own inner world that we live and operate in. And they may be different from each other. Dee, you had a comment there?
Wasn't that what the tiny mad idea is about? That we wanted to be special and individuals, and the answer was impossible. No way, cannot do.
And we actually accomplished it in our minds,
Right.
but
Mhm.
it's not true. And it threw us into chaos because we were all from our own different worlds. And so it's very difficult to act on behalf of the whole when your understanding of the whole has been covered over by a tiny mad idea that you can have your own individual consciousness.
Mhm.
And that's taken on a lot of significance to me because, in general, when you say, well, they're conscious, and that's kind of a good thing, like all is well, right? No,
except
that's the problem is that we're conscious individually. All right, that's enough of that, I think. Thank you, Sherilyn. Any other comments on page 55 and the first couple of passages from A Course in Miracles? Let's keep going. Miss Miller, are you ready?
yes, I think we're at the top of page 56.
56.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let us look closer at the whole illusion that you made, that what you
What?
made has power to enslave its maker. This is the same belief that caused the separation. It is the meaningless idea that thoughts can leave the thinker's mind, be different from it, and in opposition to it.
Mm.
Mm.
Do some more. Finish
The-
that up.
The world you perceive is a world of separation. The world you made is therefore totally chaotic, governed by arbitrary and senseless laws, and without meaning of any kind. When you believe what you believe is true for you. In this sense, the separation has occurred, and to deny it is merely to use denial inappropriately. However, to concentrate on error is only a further error.
All right. We love this stuff, don't we? Comments from you on any of this? How about the last sentence anyway? However, to concentrate on error is only a further error. what does that mean to you, and how would you unpack that in terms of how we live our lives on a daily basis?
Well, in this earth plane, and while we're in this earth plane, there will always be separation, even though we may think the separation is lessening because we're becoming more, we're growing into the oneness, but we won't be in the oneness until we're there, and then what this illusion will no longer exist. So, it's like separation will always be separation until it no longer exists. And when it no longer exists, we won't be thinking about it because we won't be thinking.
So,
Mhm.
is there
Mhm.
anything you can do about it today or tomorrow?
Well, the only thing that I can do about it is to start thinking much more globally, thinking about the oneness. When I see the world, the first thing I see is the oneness of the world, and then I can go into the separation if I need to. But it's getting to the point, for me, and I can only speak for me, it's getting to the point when I look out through my eyes, I look out through my spiritual eyes, and I only see what my spiritual eyes see, even though my human eyes are seeing something else, my mind is seeing is being it's very hard to describe how that occurs, but it just occurs where, I'm global. I'm not specific. When I start looking and start seeing things globally and don't take in all the little stuff that's going on, it's like looking at the world but seeing beyond the world.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that, but more specifically here, I just wanted you or someone to comment on however to concentrate on error is only a further area. Kathleen, are you saying that you've learned not to concentrate on the error
Well,
in?
it's not, well, it's all in how I look at it in this illusion. But the illusion is still the illusion, and that's what it's saying. The error is still the error. If it's when you stop thinking in the error that the illusion disappears. It's whatever happens at the end of this that happens that we know nothing about.
All right.
And it's just our concept of what it's about. And my
So,
concept may be totally different from your concept.
so part of it is agreeing to let that go.
Yes,
It's not about analyzing it.
right,
It's not about trying to make sense
right,
of why this doesn't work.
right,
It's very hard to make sense of things that do not make sense.
right. And it will be when you get to the point where you don't have to think anymore. That's that
Okay.
that's
And
all I can.
all right. Other comments on that statement, D, and then we'll go to Debbie.
Yeah, to me, it means to concentrate on error is only further error. To me, it means starting with the wrong premise. When I concentrate on the error, I've already started with the wrong premise. So I'm going to continue down that trajectory. So to correct it would be to start with the right premise to begin with. And then I'm not concentrating on the illusion.
So is it even an error then?
Oh.
As like an error has kind of a negative a negative connotation, like, oh, I did something wrong. It's not even wrong. It's merely meaningless.
Right. It's an awareness, though.
It's
It's an
not
awareness.
even worth the attention. All it is worth is overlooking.
Right. I think it is important because I need to catch myself in the act, so to speak, that, oh, there I go. I mean, I started with
Yeah.
the wrong premise. An
Yeah.
awareness.
Yes.
that, you know, and to know that that is going to take me down a further rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I won't reach the truth if I started with the wrong premise. And so don't be looking there. Don't be
To me, it
focusing there.
says, don't even go there. Don't,
Exactly.
it's not worth your attention. What it is worth is letting go of. And the word the course uses for that is forgiveness.
Right, but not even to go there. If I'm noticing that I am there, I'm already there. So it's there is a correction, like you say, you know, and that's important for me to become aware that I did land there, that I did,
Yeah.
you know,
And leave it.
right.
That's pretty much it. Debbie, you had a comment. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I don't know. You can take this, I don't know, with a grain of salt, or maybe it's, but when we talked about further error, I realized, okay, we have this holiday coming up, right? And the family, now we have a small family, right? So there's only 6 of us that are gonna be getting together on Christmas Day. And you know, everything needs to, it's like, so some of the eating is going to happen at our house, and it's like, okay, we have to have this food for this person and this food for another person, and we have to have a dessert that everybody will eat. And you know, I mean, of course, this is only in my awareness because we're having it here, right? So we're
Okay.
expected to come up with this food somehow. And I realized that's kind of like it, but really what's important is we're a family, and we're going to somehow or another sit at the table together and share this food and share each other's company. And in my mind, you know, that may or may not be a good example, but I'm thinking that, and we do that a lot in life, don't we? You know, we concentrate on the differences. It's like, oh, I can't call her. Oh God, you know.
But I think
We might get on a
right
bad
on.
subject that I can't handle.
To me, the only thing that makes it worthwhile is the movement toward wholeness.
Yes.
Out of all of those activities, the only meaningful one is that we're bringing people together. And that does have a basis in reality. So maybe all of the peripheral activities and anxieties and doing this and this, I think it is worth it for that greater good of restoring wholeness or bringing people together.
But
What are some of your other thoughts on this? Anybody else?
but you can see what I was thinking. It's like, superficially we see all these differences. Do I want to concentrate on these differences?
Right.
And that's what
That's
that's what all this makes us think about. Anyway, that's enough from me.
No, I think it's well said. Well said. Other comments here? All right. We are up to, gee whiz, Debbie, it's your turn to read, right?
No, I just read it. It's
Really?
Ron,
It's my turn.
Oh boy. All right. You know where we are, probably better than me. Are we on Unity, Ron?
Yes, we are on Unity,
Okay.
but not Unity Ron, just Unity.
All right. Thank you.
The following quotes on the experience of separation and the solution speak for themselves. This mind exists as the absolute, the unlimited. In its consciousness, there is no apartness, no separation, and whoever puts himself into its consciousness can accomplish things instantly. There is no absence or separation in God. His omnipresence is your omnipresence. There can be no absence in mind. If God were for one instant separated from his creations, they would immediately fall into disillusion. In spirit and in truth, you can never for one instant be separated from the life activity of God. This is the first step in the fall of man, to believe that he can act wisely without first knowing the plan of God.
Let's stop here. I'm sorry, there's one more idea from what we read previously when Debbie was reading that I want to make sure we're clear on. It was something about thoughts cannot be separate from the thinker. Where was that? Didn't we read that earlier?
Yeah, it's the last sentence in the first paragraph on page 56. It's meaningless idea that thoughts can leave the thinker's mind,
Yes.
different from it and in opposition to it.
Can we spend a minute on that and start to see its relationship to what Unity says in that last passage? This is the first step in the fall of man, the belief that he can act wisely without first knowing the plan of God. What does it mean that thoughts, it's meaningless that thoughts can leave the thinker's mind, be different from it, and in opposition to it? Have you heard anything like this before? Thoughts do not leave their source. Have you heard that in the Course in Miracles? And then in one of the special themes, it says that what is creation? Creation is the thoughts of God, something about being unlimited and everywhere. It's another statement that everything is mental. Thoughts are not physical things, are they? So, what does
Thoughts create physical things.
they do? However, can they create things that are separate from the thinker? Thoughts do not leave their source.
Right.
So thoughts can manifest things on behalf of the thinker. Thoughts have power to create things, but only like itself. What'd you say, Doug?
Well, books are written. Your thoughts. You write a book. Your thoughts.
Yeah. As a man thinketh, so is he. I'm with you on that. But what we're saying is that we are thoughts of God. Yeah. And therefore are employed in God's bidding. I like to use the analogy, God is the tool maker and we are the tools. That's nice. But what would you think of a tool you made and you needed them to be a saw? And they said, forget this, I want to be a hammer. Why can't I be a hammer? What would you think of that?
Well, that's the ego sneaking in.
Yeah.
Do you see it's the consequence of individual thought separate from its maker? So if thoughts do not leave their source, the whole idea of thoughts in opposition to their thinker is the ego itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
The ego, we do the anthropomorphizing, the personifying. We, you get the impression this ego thing is some big monster and it'll get you, and it's like out of the horror movies. That's not it. The ego is simply a thought system that is thought to be real, that is in opposition to the thoughts of the source. It's a ludicrous idea. It doesn't make sense. You could say, even from when you understand it, that ain't even logical.
Yeah.
It's like a sunbeam that says, forget you, son. I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to take my stuff and go do what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's fiction.
Yeah. It's and what's just sometimes my brain is really weird, but what's just popping in the words that are popping in my mind now is the devil made me do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the devil, D, you were about to say something. Wait,
You're muted.
And what's popping in my mind now is we really don't have free will.
you do have free will, but within the realm of reality.
Yeah.
You can squander your free will on hallucination.
Well, where I'm coming from with we don't have free will is we can't be what we're not. We can't. We could
Yes,
make believe that but so we really
yes.
don't have free will to be anything but the truth of our being.
Exactly.
There are limitations on freedom in order to keep, you can't take freedom to throw yourself into bondage. You're not free to do that. There's a reason that this works. There's a reason that it's good. It's because it all works for a unified goal. It works for each other. It works together. So when you think you can run off and take your piece and do your own thing, you're starting to contribute to chaos.
Yes.
Because the goals are not unified anymore. And so, do you see how the idea of individual consciousness is not the great thing. It's actually very detrimental, but not in detrimental in the sense that it's bad. It's detrimental in the sense that it's meaningless. It doesn't make sense. It never made sense. It's not making sense now. It never will make sense. How long do you want to pursue it? My ego will pursue it forever. But I'm not my ego.
Right.
So the sooner, as Kathleen was saying, I learn to see it for what it is, an hallucination, a dream, something that could not possibly be true, because thoughts never leave their source. I give you all your props there, Cheryl and White, for being one of our brightest sunbeams. But that's what you are. You will be a sunbeam, not a whatever you want to be. That is the limitation of this. And be ye thankful that this is so. More comments here.
Okay.
Go ahead, Deb.
Okay. So I guess all I want to say, so if there's ever a question in our mind, am I going off on my own here? Is this my little ego trip? Or am I doing this in spirit? Holy Spirit is always there. All I have to do is look for that connection, and then I'll know.
And the Holy
I
Spirit,
will be, but I'll know.
the Holy Spirit is you.
Yes.
Holy, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay? So it hasn't forgotten its source
Mhm.
and only acts from that. So if we want a true guide, a certain guide, maybe we should ask for one that's not crazy.
Yeah.
One that knows the impossible is impossible.
And I think it's also realizing that there isn't a destination because we're already there. So
Right.
there is no destination. I don't have to get anywhere. I don't have to think anything. I just have to learn to, for me, it's just learning to, and I'm using this again, it's just learning to be global. It's like not putting myself in a box. It's like instead of putting spirit inside my body, it's putting my body inside spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Sadhguru says that we all teach our kids to be great citizens, great Michiganders in my case, great citizens of the United States, great citizens of the Western world. What we should be teaching our kids is to be citizens of the cosmos. That's a closer approximation to having our kids see clearly, to operate on behalf of the whole, because that is what we are. We are simply expressions of the whole. More comments here. Sherilyn always like your expression. Doesn't she look like she's taking it all in? Look at that, right? Ron, go ahead.
I'm having difficulties seeing detrimental and meaningless having the same meaning, if you will.
Well, thank you.
If it's detrimental, it's going to hurt me or hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And if it's meaningless, it's not going to hurt anybody.
Correct.
Okay,
That's precisely it.
okay, thank you.
It's not that it's bad. Being unreal, it's meaningless.
Okay,
So you almost want to laugh at yourself that you pay attention to what can never be.
Yes.
It doesn't make sense.
Yes.
Thoughts do not leave
Yes.
their source.
Sometimes I laugh at myself and say, well, Kathleen, in the scheme of things, it doesn't matter anyways. It doesn't matter because I think it doesn't matter because beyond this, everything is there. Beyond this, everything, it doesn't matter. So don't get, so don't get crazy over it because it doesn't matter.
The only thing that is tragic is how long do you want to suffer because you're bringing it on yourself by acting as though what could never happen is happening.
Exactly.
So you say, well, how do I deal with my friends and all the ones, and I have to interact and I have to get to work and I have to do all of those things? The Holy Spirit will show you how to navigate this crazy world in a way that is respectful to it, but in a way that it doesn't swallow you up. Why is it important to be respectful to the world? Why don't you just say to hell with it? I'm not going to participate. There are comments. Doug, you have one?
I mean, do unto others as you would have others do unto you.
Why?
Huh?
Why? Doug said, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. And I asked him why. And I'll ask all of you, why would you want to? Why?
We're all one.
Because they are you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is no, how many times okay, there's no separation when it comes to people. There's no separation when it comes to the earth. There's no separation even here in level 2 when it comes to the cosmos. We're made out of have you ever heard of atoms?
Mhm.
ATOMS, Ron?
Mhm.
From last week.
yes.
It's what the stars are made of. What are you made of here?
Adam,
Same thing.
Adams.
Same thing.
You're just another manifestation here of stardust.
Mm-hmm.
So treat everyone here the same because they are the same. And that's true whether or not they believe it or not. Since when did what you believe change what is true? belief is a cop-out. It's below truth. But how many of us have taught how important it is what we believe?
Mhm.
It doesn't change
Yes.
what's true, it changes how we respond to but our beliefs change how we respond.
Yes. And if you believe that there is, here's how I've learned to put it after all these years. Something seems to run things, and it's not me,
Yeah. Yep.
and it's not you.
Nope.
Now, call it whatever you will. I think most of us have come to an understanding that something is in charge. There's nothing I can do about that. My only hope lies in what is the one in charge? What is its nature? And I hope it's loving. Like all the philosophers and all of that folks have said. What
Mhm.
are my other options, people?
And
Stop. All you need is love.
Yeah, we've heard it over and over and over and over in so many ways. And yet, what is it in us that keeps saying, nah, that can't be it?
and then but
Starts
then
with an
thinking,
E. Go
yeah,
ahead,
but
Catherine.
thinking that something is in charge is perpetuating separation, because it's placing that something that's in charge is a power greater than us, but we are that. So it's
And,
not greater than us. It's not
and
something that's in charge. It
beautiful.
just is.
Yes. And thank you for making even that connection, because something, there's like me, and then there's something. But our greatest glory is that we are that something, but not individually.
Exactly.
Do you see how individual consciousness
Hmm.
was one of the first outcomes of the tiny mad idea? And it sounds like a simple anecdote that this happened, and into eternity there arose a tiny mad idea. It sounds so simple, but do you see its very profound ramifications? And it also was the thing that made our world. You say, well, wait a minute. How could we make a world? We're going to start wrapping up here, but let's start. How could you make a world? How would you be capable of making a world? Does that sound ludicrous to you, that you could make a world?
Isn't that what we're doing when we maintain the separation?
Well, I don't know, but we'll get to that question. Let's stick with the first one, if you don't mind. How could little old you How could little old we, because we are a bunch of filthy, miserable sinners, aren't we? What power would we have to make a world?
Our thoughts?
The power of our thoughts. It's the same power that God uses to create. We're endowed with the same God-given power, and it'll work no matter how you use it. But the fail-safe to that power, the thing that keeps the thought of God in its integrity, is that God is the author of reality. So you can make stuff, but only stuff in line with the will of God can be real. You can make fairy tales, you have vivid imaginations, but some of the stuff you make, as powerful as you are, can bite you in the butt. When you have this much power, you also need wisdom. Yeah. Right?
Yes.
It works only for one way, and that way is good. Unity says there's only one power and one presence in the universe, and fortunately, it is good. Now, it's not a matter of whether you believe that or not, is it?
No.
Is it a matter of whether you fight against it? Will that change it?
No.
So, what are your options?
To agree with it or not to agree with it.
Well, my only option is to agree with it. I can't change it. Why would I keep disagreeing with something that is not disagreeable with?
That's just called faith.
Well, it's called faith. Yeah, absolutely. Because I got to have faith in something. It's very difficult to be neutral. And yet my ego would have me think I can be that way. But I have to be either love or what else?
Fear.
Right.
Yep. So those are the only two options, right? I'm in love or fear, which is a state where I don't think there is love. It's not like love is reality and fear is a reality. Fear is the state I enter into when I don't accept love. I don't accept that I'm taken care of. I don't accept that all of my needs will be met all the time. I don't accept that I don't have to store up for myself, or else something might happen and I'll go hungry. I'm gonna trust that whatever this thing is its nature is loving. Big choice. So we're gonna probably, oh man, we're on page 57 for
Yeah.
next time we get to this. I'm gonna mark that. But where we are right now in terms of we're on separation, right?
Mm-hmm.
My takeaway is that it's impossible. So, in practical terms, would you want to continue to live as though it's all about you?
No.
No.
Does it? This is not at church. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. So it's, if it doesn't make sense, if it's not real, don't think about it, don't analyze it, don't figure out how you can make it better, how you can make separation better. The whole focus is simply on letting those ideas go forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that has become my spiritual path. Closing comments here. Oh, don't leave me speechless.
It's good to be back. I love all you guys.
Mhm.
Go out there and live in love.
Yeah. And if you try it sincerely, each and every moment, it's not going to be perfect at first, but the more you see the results, the easier it'll get, because you stack up evidence in its favor. Right, Kathleen?
Yep.
All right. So that has been right for me and for all the brothers and sisters willing to listen. It is a remedy that I try and share. For those brothers and sisters that are not willing to listen to this now, I just try and demonstrate how it's worked for me. And precisely. Our Waysure, and I don't know, I always think of you, Dee, with Judaism, but you kind of like Jesus, right?
I loved his teaching.
Yeah. So as a teacher, he's definitely been a Waysure for us. And when Doug mentioned demonstrating, that's what Jesus demonstrated, is another way of being in the world that is as close to real as real can be. We are one. I won't keep you any further. Let you get back to your holiday activities. And I appreciate you being here tonight. We will be meeting on December 30th, next Monday, and we'll be pre-New Year's Eve for ACIM Talks with Reverend Jim. Have a good rest of your week, and
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy
Yes.
Hanukkah.
Happy holidays.
See
Happy
you guys
holidays.
next time.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Namaste.
Bye.
Bye-bye.